It's time for today's episode of the UGA Sports Live Podcast, recorded in front of a slightly tipsy studio audience at world-famous Champy's Fried Chicken. We will have the latest on Georgia Bulldogs football, basketball, and recruiting. Watch live and send us your questions on the 11 Alive Sports page on Facebook. Be advised this podcast is off the record and not safe for work. Also, be sure to subscribe to the UGA Sports Live Podcast on iTunes and Google Play.
Hey everybody, welcome to the UGA Sports Live Podcast. My name is Rodney DeBulsey. I'm joined by Jake Roos, the recruiting super fantastic, awesome guy at UGAsports.com. Who now here's the thing, Jake is now the lead guy to watch at UGA Sports because we got basically 2 weeks and 1 day until early signing day, and if it's anything like last year, most of Georgia's class will be filled up on signing day. So if you're not following Jake Roos on Twitter, you need to. And if you're not a member of UGAsports.com, you need to be right now. He and Trent Smallwood are dropping all sorts of recruiting nuggets you need to read. But the biggest star of the show, of course, is Jim Donnan, former head coach, College Football Hall of Famer, one of the best offensive minds in the industry. I don't know anybody else that actually led the nation in rushing offense and passing offense, and Jim Donnan has done that. So who do you think we're going to ask about the great start Georgia had against Alabama and then the subsequent offensive inefficiency it had towards the end? It'll, of course, be Jim Donnan. Now, if you have a question, go ahead and send it in. You can add it to the when you're watching this on 11 Live Sports, of course, our big sponsor there. Go ahead and send it in there. Jim Donnan will give it to the coach. He'll answer it. You can tell your friends, hey, I had a question answered by Jim Donnan. He told me why X, Y, Z. And we'd really appreciate it if you'd share this with your friends. It's a free show, so that's all we ask is you hit the share button and hit the like button. And
you grifters.
You slackers. No, but it's a free show, so that's all we ask is that you support our sponsors. Speaking of our sponsors, quick rundown. Athens Ford, you need to get out there and take care of get your new vehicle and take care of some of the local kids in the Athens area. They have a great charity set up out there. Aaron Overhead Doors, giant sponsors. Again, probably nobody more heartbroken over that loss than Ryan Lucia and the folks at Aaron Overhead Doors. Your Pie, it's the holiday season. If you're tired of turkey, swing by, get Your Pie, and you can order it online. Of course, Academia Brewing Company. Excuse us, we have to take a little. I think the rule is every time we mention them, we have to drink beer. It's, kind of product placement.
I also like to drink their beer when we don't mention them.
I'm just saying, when we mention them in the show, it's almost like a
drinking game.
Yeah, there you go. It's a drinking game. And, of course, Cable East, Robert Wall out of state. We'll mention these folks later on the show, but thank them for their support. Let's jump right into it, Coach, while Jake is sharing the podcast with everybody. I think when we left last week, I don't think – not my wildest dreams, I didn't see Georgia up 2 touchdowns on Alabama, but that's where they were in the second half. I mean, and then Alabama goes on a 21-0 run. This is my take, but I think that game changed on Rodrigo's missed field goal, and that's not anything against Rodrigo. I just think that when the way the enthusiasm, the emphasis, the vigor left the Georgia team when they walked off the field, and then Alabama jumping up and down like they had won the title. It was just the disparity in emotions was unreal.
Well, first of all, I thought it was just a masterful game plan by both sides of the ball. I think both teams really, offense and defense for Georgia, had a really good feel for what Alabama was going to do, and did a good job of attacking that offensively, going to the unbalanced line and putting 4 receivers on one side really confused them. And our offensive line did a really good job protecting Jake in the first half. And he just had one of those games for the ages in the first half. I mean, you couldn't ask for much more the way he threw the ball, called the plays at the line, and Swift. And defensively, as we talked about on the show last week, we had to confuse Tua some, and we really did. Spun our safety some different ways and gave him some different looks, and he got impatient. But, when you look at it, we just didn't start converting there once the pressure got on, and almost eerily similar to last year. Brilliant first half, early part of the second half going good. But, when you don't score from with 3 minutes left and gone in the third quarter to the rest of the game, that's 27 minutes without a score, and then they get 21 points. Hard to win, but we had some massive breakdowns in our kicking game, not just the fake, but we had a situation where we had 10 men on the field and had to call timeout. We dropped a kickoff in the end zone and tried to bring it out. We dropped an onside kick. We had a punt return, and we missed a field goal. Those are things, they're just reality that I never thought would happen. I thought that was the edge we had. We actually won the offense and defensive sides of the ball for the most part, but lost the kicking game. And that, in the end, was a big factor in it because you factor in the missed field goal and the missed fake. And, it's a big turnaround in the game. But I will say this. I talked about a renaissance for Georgia and everything. That was a startling reality pill for the whole country the other day. Georgia, I just don't see until next year's SEC championship, I don't see anybody beating us. I mean, that could happen maybe. We could beat ourselves, but pretty vivid there what kind of team you had. And that's why everybody started jumping up on the table for us about being the 4 best, which we are. But, you just can't rationalize the fact you lost on the road 20-some points, and then it's just hard to get a 2-team loss team in there. So that's my overview. But I will say this, our preparation and our game plan and the way we attacked them was very unreal, surreal type. The fact that Nick Saban, his staff, and all, considered the best around, and there's no question we got some really good guys here with the head man, and he knows how to get after Alabama. We just got to finish it up, and nobody needs to sit here and talk all day, what if, but it was a gut-wrenching loss, no question.
Alvin Todd with an interesting question for you, Coach. He says, what adjustments did Alabama make to stop the offense and stifle them up a little bit in that second half?
I think the first reaction is that they made some, but really they didn't. We didn't. They ran a couple cross dogs where you take the backers and, if you're in man protection there, and then the 2 backers cross across the nose guard, and then sometimes the guards run into each other and got he got a chance to get through there on Jake. And then another time they ran a guy through the A gap at the last second, and we didn't pick it up. But more than anything was our lack of execution, not being able to hit some plays or tip passes or whatever it was. But, the first thing you say is they did that. But looking at the tape, I don't think it was anything that they did. It's just a case of us, and I don't know how it happened, but we didn't really get to the running game. Swift only touched the ball 3 times running the ball, and that happens sometimes when you're trying to make first downs. We talked about this. The more first downs you make, the more you're going to keep the ball and keep them, and that's what we're doing the first step. We weren't doing that midway through the third quarter, but the way we threw hot to Nauta to set up that field goal, the way we hit him against 4 vertical, the way we shifted our back out to get Ridley on that guy man-to-man and hit the fade on him. I mean, that's coaching, that's playing, that's Jake knowing what to do. But it just makes you vomit to think about how close we were, and that's just gut-wrenching. But I don't think they really did that much adjusting. I think the biggest adjustment they made, putting Hurts in, gave him more of a running quarterback, which last year we were set up to stop the running quarterback, and they hurt us throwing the ball. This year we set up to stop the pass. And I tell you, that's a brilliant play he made, hitting Judy on the rollout. I mean, you can't defend it any better than what we did. But
well, and you had to know too. We talked about this on the sidelines. Judy, they kept him very quiet for the most part of in the game. That's a kid though. He's going to make a play, at least one, every game it seems.
Well, they're averaging 50-some points a game. They're averaging beating people by 21 points. I mean, they shut out LSU. They shut out Mississippi State. For us to get 28 points, we really should have had a couple more. The one dropped by Miko. Who would have thought going into the game that Miko would drop 3 balls? He dropped the that was a tough catch in the end zone, but he dropped an onside kick, and he dropped a jet sweep. Yeah. So 3 drops by, of his 7 or 8 chances he had as compared to last year where he had 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, it's just mind-boggling how close we were, and it could have been – we should have had it salted away with that field goal. And I think looking back, probably should have called a timeout because he's a little rushed there, and he could have called a timeout there and let him get set to kick it.
I go back to that first drive. Georgia gets the ball, 3 and out, 4 and out. I mean, and right up the middle, you get Quentin Williams. He goes inside on a true freshman and Trey Hill, and just knocks him out of the way like there's pie in the backfield. Yeah. He gets back there and goes right at your quarterback, and I'm thinking, this bodes ill. And then they get the ball, they're driving down the field, and I'm like, this is going to be a blowout. And granted, that's just the first impression.
Well, they didn't drive it. They had the ball on the punt return.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And inexplicably, I don't know if Loxley's trying to get a head job. They got the ball first and goal on that 7 or 8, and they throw 3 passes with those tom-tom running backs. I told my wife, hey, they don't think they can run the ball on us. They never even tried to run it the whole game. But they ran that little counter, but if they had run the ball more, that would have hurt us. But they didn't. But
well, that A-gap, we were talking about in the first half. I mean, that A-gap, on either side of the center, both sides, every time they tried it, it was there, and they were taking off through the middle. And then they kept throwing it. I'm like, I don't get it. But Georgia gets the interception, comes back, drives the field, and Georgia's taking it right to them. And my point being, in answer to the question, what you saw in those first 2 possessions, a more physical Alabama team imposing its will. I'm like, okay, this is going to be bad. But Georgia answered the bell and flipped the script on them until the fourth quarter. In which case, again, I didn't see anything schematically different. I didn't see these crazy adjustments that Alabama put in that stopped Georgia. It's just when you call a play, you have your 11 men taking on their 11 men, and more of their men won the one-on-one matchups in the second half than Georgia did. And it's frustrating because you're looking out there and you have, hey, there's a redshirt freshman, there's a true freshman, there's a sophomore, there's a redshirt sophomore on your offensive line, but they gave gave Fromm time to throw, but in the second half, the balls get batted, guys are jumping up, guys are covered better, and you just couldn't. You're just spinning your wheels. So I don't think there's anything adjustment. I just think it was. I know the point being is boring when you say it's execution. You want to know that they put in some great defense that threw everything off.
Sure.
No, you got to execute it in the second half.
But those same guys were doing it in the first half,
Exactly.
and they were very challenged. But I think their inexperience now is out of the way because they've had all spring, summer, and fall, and they played dramatically against a good offense and a good defense. But I think the big deal was what we talked about last week. When Jake had a perfect pocket and had time, he picked them apart.
He did.
Just like, most really good quarterbacks love that. But, anytime you have to move around a little bit, your timing's off a little bit. Sometimes a guy can stick his hand up, and because he's not in the throwing lane he normally would be in, and the quarterback doesn't expect it, and you knock a ball down, or you don't have the velocity you'd have when you're throwing off your other foot when you're moving. So all those things add to getting stopped. You know what I mean? And that's what they have to do to stop our offense. They got to get us off the spot, because when he's on the spot, he's going to hit that percentage. I don't care who he's playing against, but he just doesn't have the velocity when he has to move, and that's nothing wrong with him. He has a harder time, just like I would. Anybody's got it. You can't anticipate routes when you're moving around. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
It's hard to do, whoever you are. So that's the MO for us when we've lost, is getting us in the third down and making our protection have to show stuff. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about the proverbial elephant in the room, because everybody wants to make it, wants to boil it down, and I don't think it came down to a single play, but it's the play that's going to stick with everybody. That 4th and 11 fake punt. Obviously, things didn't get off. Kirby Smart, Justin Fields, basically all of them after the game said, look, we just didn't get that snap off fast enough. Just your thoughts on that play, Coach. It was an aggressive choice, certainly at a crucial time.
Well, you look at everything, risk-reward. I mean, it looked good in practice. I mean, he knows what their punt safe is, what their call is. He knows there's a flaw in it, But you got to go out there and do things. That's where the human element comes in, whether it's getting the ball snapped quickly enough. It's where both fakes this year have come about in a situation where we didn't do what we were supposed to do. When you get the LSU game, our right tight end stuck his butt out instead of stepping down, and their guys reacted to it and did it. And if you do that, it's not a fake. The same thing happened on this one. We didn't snap it quick enough. They had time to adjust and covered the guy that we thought we could throw it to. So as bad as it looked and as bad as it ended up being, our own lack of execution hurt as much as anything as compared to what the defense did. But, hey, 3 years ago, I was going over to the Butts-Mehre building, and Kirby and Mary Beth asked me to come over to that deal where they were having the, press conference. And I guarantee you, I would have never thought we would be where we are right now. So, all of us have made some calls, and it didn't work out, and it certainly helped Bama because you got a quarterback now that's in the 4-down zone, and you can look at it any way you want, but it didn't end up like it needed to be. But we had a lot of more chances in that game. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It wasn't the thing to do based on that, but we had so many other chances. Kick the field goal, drop the touchdown pass, whatever it might be.
And I felt that there were even other opportunities where that exact play would have made sense. And even if it had broken down, you could have gone for 4th and 2, 4th and 3, maybe with
right.
that.
The best part about it, you don't expect the team to do 4th and 11. But the thing that's hard to rationalize to the fans is, hey, Justin Fields is in there. That ought to be a real quick shot to them to say, hey, you got him back there. But that's why you snap it quick, where you can do it, So, we could sit here all day and go over that, but it's just a very tough deal, and it's a problem for everybody. But and we can get on Kirby and get on everybody, but I mean it's water over the bridge, under the bridge, over the dam, under the dam. It's this old coach here should have kicked a field goal against Georgia Tech one play earlier. I mean, I should have kicked. I've looked at it every day the rest of my life. I see that ball on the ground with us with the ball. But, hey, that's the part of it. I mean, this hangs with you. It's a terrible burden on me right now. I'm 73 years old, and that chaps my ass. I'm not talking about what happened to Kirby. I mean, that chaps it too.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, no one will ever let you forget it either.
No, I mean, people have been good about it. But,
but it's just that they remember it.
You can't lose to Georgia Tech, and I understand that. And the way we lost was terrible. But I want to get back. I'm just saying that nobody feels any
worse than Kirby.
But
think about how competitive he is, how mad he is about that it didn't work. And again,
wouldn't you think for him to call it, he thought it was going to work?
Absolutely.
It wasn't like, hey, maybe we can trick them right here.
No, here's the situation. You look at it. He had them. He led most of last year's game until they have to go to overtime, and then a busted coverage, and he loses it.
All but 6 minutes in two games. But 9 plays in 290 plays.
Right. So, and then you got them down. You're like, okay, all of this year was geared to getting back, facing them, beating them, and you don't get it. You're up by 14. You're like, we got them. They come out. Both teams are great for second half adjustments. They come out. Georgia's defense shuts them down, gets the ball back, you score a touchdown. You get the ball back again. Looks like you're about to score again. You get stopped. You miss a field goal. That shouldn't be a big deal. You just missed it. We're still doing well, still driving on them. And then, I mean, like I said, everything changes. So you got to know that Kirby Smart was – I know people are going to complain about the fake field goal. But, again, this is a guy who was pounding what some consider the best Alabama team ever. I mean, they're beating you got Tua not even playing in the fourth quarter in most of these games, because you don't need him. I mean, this is a team that has killed everybody. Not granted, not the toughest schedule, but – there's still people going, is this the best Alabama team ever? And you're beating them their brains out.
Right. And I would say this right now. I'm going to interrupt. They're not the best Alabama team, and not taking anything away from us. Our coaches felt like that going into the game that we could attack them. I guarantee you Oklahoma is going to they're going to throw the football on these corners and these safeties. They don't play the ball well in the air. They don't play the ball deep. If they don't get a pass rush on Murray, and they're going to have a hard time the way he jumps around. They like to play too. Now they'll just assault OU's defense, that's for sure. But Kyler Murray will light them up in a lot of different ways, and it's not because of what Alabama doesn't have. They got a lot of good players, but this guy's doing it on everybody now. Yeah. I mean, so after the game now, I can say it's great. They're 13-0 and everything, but this is not an Alabama defense except for Williams is good, and there's a lot of good players on it, but they lost. When you look at their staff, they lost Kirby Smart and Pruitt.
Yeah.
And they've got some good young coaches, but that's a lot of ball that they lost, and Nick can't do it all by himself, and we we grinded them. We did some things on them that they were over there shaking their heads. I mean, how many teams come out with an unbalanced line and 4 wide receivers to the other side, then come out the next play and take your left tackle and put him in an unbalanced line on the right side as a tight end, make you think you're going to run over there and you can run the jet sweep over there. I mean, Chaney, he was on a buffet the other night on what he was calling. I mean, they were well prepared and they did a good job, and they couldn't get lined up on us. And that's part of the reason Jake was so good, because it's like throwing fish in a barrel how wide open our guys were. I mean, he was outstanding. I mean, because he knew where to go. I mean, he'd been coached up by Coley and Chaney, and he's a coach on the field. I mean, I talk about our game plans and stuff and all being, our passing game being simple and all, but our running game is complex, man. You got to check off to the right stuff and do it. He's a Phi Beta Kappa out there where he checks plays, man. It's unreal. I guarantee I couldn't check those plays. I couldn't even breathe looking at Quentin Williams.
You gave a good segue to our next topic that I want to get into, because a lot of people having a lot of questions about it, but we're going to hit Roddy first.
Yeah, I want everyone to know, if you've been watching the show all year, you know that Athens Ford is one of our biggest sponsors. They sponsor not only our podcast, but also UGASports.com. Speaking of which, if you want to swing out by UGASports.com, they have extended the $99 offer for free gear. So you can actually sign up at UGASports.com, get 1 year of UGASports.com. This is for new members. And you get $99 in gear. So it's $99.95 for the year and then $99 in gear.
Look, you're going to buy Sugar Bowl gear. You may not be happy about it, but you're going to buy it, all right?
SEC
so go
East
get
champion
it.
Hat,
It's free.
You need a new Georgia coat. It's Christmas. You want to get some. And here's the thing. If you have a father-in-law, a mother-in-law, a cousin who's a big, Chicago Bears fan, or something like that, you can use that gear and get them something.
There you go.
But
You mean we can get the other stuff for pros?
Anything you want.
Anything you want.
Yeah.
So it's $99. The Rivals Fan Shop has all those teams in it, so you can get something. Braves fan, get you some Braves gear.
There you go.
Anyway, I want to mention the Athens Ford. We talk about the great deals they have, like on their F-150. It's almost $15,000 off right now for 2018. The Ford Explorer is almost $10,000 off. $14,500, $9,500 off on the F-150 and the Ford Explorer. We mention their deals all the time. They have the best prices you can get. They also are the only ones that have the lifetime powertrain warranty on their new and pre-owned vehicles. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the fact that if you go out there now and buy a vehicle in the month of December, they are doing a thing called Angel Wings. Right. It's with the it's basically you go out and they give you these wings, you write your name on it, and they have all these toys all over the place, and you can put your wings on it, and that goes to a kid in the Athens area that needs it. So it's a fantastic program they're doing out there. This is a group that does so much for the community here. Not just, they're not just out there selling cars. They do wonders for the folks in the community. They are very, very Athens focused. Granted, Athens Ford is in the name, but just the amount of charity they do. I've been in the office over there, and I see people coming in. Hey, can you sponsor our baseball team, our softball team? Can you donate
our
this?
Website.
Our website. And Chris is out there. He's just writing checks. He's just taking care of everybody. So I'm making a personal appeal. If you need a new or pre-owned vehicle, you don't have to buy it out there, but just go look. Go talk to those people. And it's the best sales experience because you're not being hassled. You're not being, you don't feel like you walk in the door and all those eyes, those jackals' eyes turn towards you, and they start nipping at each other to be the first up to you. And that fake, how are you doing today? Just that creepy, oily, oozy. We're all of a sudden best friends because you're willing to drop, $13,000 to $50,000 in my establishment.
Now, for those of you who are listening, I will be your best friend for $13,000.
You do it for 13 cents. But the point being, this is that kind of fake friendliness. You don't get it out there. I mean, I've been through that rigmarole. It's just creepy, and I don't like it. So just give them a chance. Go out there. And right now, they're doing wonders for the kids in the community that need it. So give them a shot.
All right. So, Coach, you mentioned Alabama lost Kirby Smart, Jeremy Pruitt prior to this season. A lot of transition there. Obviously, we broke the story last week over at UGASports.com that Mel Tucker would be the likely next candidate, the next head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. Looks like that's all still in place. They haven't made a formal announcement yet, but it looks like they're just waiting on formalities to kind of get past it. But a lot of people real curious about this situation. Earl T. Wilson says, will Mel Tucker's replacement be internal or external? Hal says, who do we think Kirby's going to replace Mel Tucker with? Chuck Ward with a really good one here. He says, Coach, if Kirby promotes Schumann, do you think he goes outside to hire a DB coach or maybe promotes somebody from inside like Tyson Summers, Bakari Rambo, Travaris Tillman,
Rambo.
Nick Williams, already in the building and familiar with the system and team? So a lot of unknowns floating around out there when it comes to this defensive coordinator search. First off, I think –
Let me ask you this. What didn't somebody here on our site say that Mel Tucker was getting the job before anybody knew it?
Somebody did.
I mean, let's give him some love there. I mean, he must be wired,
Yeah,
man. I mean, that was pretty impressive.
he broke it out.
The thing that kills me is every once in a while somebody else will come out with it later and say, so-and-so, it's like it's breaking news like 3 days and 14 nights later. But nobody gives my man the credit he needs to get. That's a pretty damn salient move.
We're used to not getting credit.
Hey,
it's okay.
And then, last week I saw, too, which I like, I saw where you were telling everybody about Hazelwood, which we're going to talk about, that George had actually gone to see him last
absolutely.
week. And man, that's good stuff. I like to hear that. Makes my mouth water. But I'm going to talk to you about coaching stuff here. You got a coach over there that's a general manager, and one thing he always does, he's got a plan. He's always got people in place. You saw what he did last year when we lost. We had a chance to lose Coley, who people are going to come after again. And he made that move within the staff, and it worked out brilliantly. You saw we were able to keep Jaden Johnson here, although I think Jay probably it's going to be hard to stay after 2 years. But, Schumann is Kirby's boy. I mean, he's worked with him forever. He knows the system. He's got really good ideas about how to coach things. And most of his background is with the secondary. That's what he did at Alabama. So I think that'd be an easy move for him to go to the secondary and an easy move for him to be the coordinator and work hand-in-hand with Kirby like he did. As far as who you would hire, a lot of it's going to be dependent on who Tucker takes with him. I don't know if he's going to take anybody from here or not. That could happen. But, I could go out there and have a Ford F-150 out there for me, too, which I was hoping you were going to give me today. But you never know. It's all conjecture. But I would say Schumann would be the guy that, knows Kirby, knows what he wants, and Kirby's going to always be hands-on on the defense anyhow. But Tucker gets a lot of credit. I'm just going to tell you right now, that guy coaches them up. He's really good with the kids. He's demanding. He's tough, but he's a good buffer with Kirby because he knows how to be Kirby, run what Kirby wants, but he can also take over. He really deserves this job. I'm proud of him. He really is going to do a good job out there. And so as far as who you bring in, you got to bring in a defensive secondary coach maybe, but if Schumann moves there, it may be a linebacker coach, maybe another outside backer coach, who knows, but you got to bring in somebody. Number one, just like Hankton last year, he looked at Hankton and said, this guy can recruit, he can coach, he's got a pro background, and he brought him in here, and that nobody even thought about Hankton.
I never heard of him.
So I don't know where he's going to –
hadn't heard of Trey Scott either.
I don't know
or Dan Lanning.
I don't know where they're going to come from, but they're going to have some kind of contact with Kirby.
Yeah.
I know that you mentioned Belk, you mentioned Ansley. They both have coached with him in the over there at Alabama, just like Lanning did. So I don't know what will happen there, but I would say Schumann got a great future here and really does a good job recruiting. If I was Tucker, I'd try to hire him too, but I don't think he'd leave here. But
I want to make a point about Mel Tucker because if he takes this as has been reported, and I want to give him credit for look at the development of J.R. Reed, Richard LeCount, and then Eric Stokes. I mean, the guy
William Poole, Tyreek McKee.
Hey, even DeAndre Baker, who was
a great point.
Who was a very
no one thought
good
DeAndre
player.
Baker was going to be DeAndre Baker.
Yeah, nobody thought he was going to be a first-team SEC guy.
And Tyson Summers behind the scene, he can't do anything on the field, but he works these kids in meetings and stuff. He's done a great job too. Tyson's got some shots at some jobs there. I mean, this guy's been a head coach.
Yeah, just like Jaden Johnson. I mean, we give a shout out to
he's been
the analysts.
Right. He's been the head coach.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Tyson. He's been a coordinator. I mean, he's got some coordinator jobs that people are talking to him about. But what could happen? What if we saw last year Fountain leave, then something broke after January? If somebody leaves here and something breaks for some of these other guys, you always got that in your hip pocket. They can come back too, because hey, this is not a destination place, man. This is a lifetime deal until you get the right job. I mean, even the quality control guys, I mean, they don't want to leave to go work over at some other smaller school. I mean, you want to stay here because this is the juggernaut.
If you're going to hitch your wagon to somebody, Kirby Smart is up and rising. Again, I know a lot of Georgia fans are disappointed that they're not in the playoffs. But
this is a rebuilding year, man.
Well, when you look at all the guys you lost to the NFL, and again, to your point, this is a rebuilding year. This was not the year you're supposed to be leading Alabama by 2 scores.
Should have done it, though. I sugarcoat things. I'm chapped about it.
No, but you're right.
But who would ever thought this year, with all the guys we had to replace and all the linemen we got hurt and all, but we certainly did a great job. But I'm not. I'm gonna stop.
But you're not rebuilding anymore. You were reloading. You brought in these kids. You played all these freshmen. You look at all the young guys that are out there. I mean, think about this. Trey Hill has gone up against Quentin Williams for 60 minutes. If he's
how about the other guys from
Cade
Auburn?
Mays? He took on Derek Brown and all those guys. So that is a cat. Cade Mays has done the same thing. You got Salyer got in there. He got a lot of snaps. The point being, I know a lot of people are down on it, but you're disappointed in going to the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah. That's
You're complaining about going to the Sugar Bowl. And I get it. You should be in the playoffs. And think about it. The same – I can't say that word on the show. The same people who in 2007 are saying, well, you got to win the SEC championship to get in the game, to be in the playoffs, or, the BCS, whatever. The same people who were saying, who were downplaying Georgia were standing on the table demanding that Georgia be in the – I lost count of the number of articles I saw that saying the selection committee got it wrong. Georgia should be in it. There's no question that even the people that said Georgia didn't deserve to be in it wouldn't say Georgia's not one of the 4 best teams. They would say, well, Georgia had their
2
shot.
losses.
Yeah,
they had their shot.
So who's the most deserving? Give someone else a shot. So, again, in your reloading year, you had one of the 4 best teams out there, and it wasn't 5-6 years ago, Georgia fans were livid as hell that they did not get into the Outback Bowl.
Yeah.
They wound up going to the Tax Slayer Bowl or to the Belk Bowl, and they were complaining about the fact that Outback is owned by Florida graduates, and there's this grand conspiracy to keep them out of the Outback. How could those sons of jerks do that to you? And now you're like, got to go to stupid New Orleans for the
settle for a New Year's Day.
But on another point, I think that's really big about our team is how many teams have 2 offensive linemen voted by the coaches as all conference. Yeah. And we got 3 other ones that might be even as good, in Wilson, Cade Mays, Hill, and
Cleveland.
And Cleveland. So, I mean, to be chosen by the coach, I think that's the best one you can be picked by because they watch the tape and all. Exactly. They don't go by all these handouts and everything. That's taking nothing away from it. But,
Coach O nothing to the AP.
Coach O said he thought Gallagher was the best center he's played against since he's been the head coach at down there at LSU, and then several others have said that. But we know about Thomas, but for him to be picked second team, I thought that was
as a sophomore left tackle.
That was ridiculous that they picked him second instead of first. He should be first team, but.
But
hey, let's get some questions here. This game's over with. Let's get some recruiting questions. Where's Jaden Hazelwood going?
Don Williams with a point that I really like and a point that I've made several times. This is the difference, I think, in Alabama and other teams, and this is what you're starting to see happen with Georgia. Following that lead, he says, we're getting to the point where we're rebuilding. We're not rebuilding. We're reloading like Bama, and that's the key. I think, it's never it's never considered much of a rebuild year. You always want to be just pulling in, hey, the next great guy, up and up.
Yeah,
so I like that point.
I like it too, and I think something everybody needs to get fired up about. We're getting ready for the signing date, which remind me again is what day?
December 19th.
All right, so let's just pretend you're a lesser team, and I'm Georgia, okay? And Roddy's a big-time offensive lineman being recruited from over here at Athens Christian. Hey, Roddy, we need to know something here by the 20th, because if you don't come, we might not have a spot for you. And then Jake said, look, you can come visit our school anytime. You can come. We'll take you all the way up to April. And that's the dilemma we're in, because these early signing day kids have got to look at it like, hey, if I don't go ahead and sign now, there might not be a spot for me if I try to wait, And particularly the really guys are maybe right on the bubble of coming or not, because we got them stacked up like cordwood trying to come here right now. Now, there's a couple of them that aren't trying to do that, or we really won't, but I'm just saying, and that's the dilemma for you right now, particularly when you can't take 25. So this next 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 days is going to be really huge for us to see, like, you want to come and so-and-so wants to come. Well, hey, I don't know. Let's wait a little bit. And then it's going to be this really tough deal for Kirby to figure out who to take, isn't it?
There better be no hesitation on your part. You're either in or you're out, because they're going to, as you sasaid, they're going to find the next guy, and they've proven that time and time and time again. One of the things that I know a lot of people have been concerned about, and I touched on this today on an article that's leading over at UGASports.com, talking about defensive guys that you need to watch. People concerned, obviously, about Mel Tucker. You're losing your defensive coordinator in this situation. I don't think it matters all that much, because the guys that he was recruiting and the guys that he was most heavily involved with, South Florida defensive backs, Kyer Elam and Tyreek Stevenson. You got a little bit of an ace in the hole in South Florida, in that James Coley knows that area and has recruited that area about as well as you possibly could.
He was there yesterday. I mean, he was down there talking to the guy. I feel really good about Tyreek. I think probably Elam might wait a little while, based on what I've heard. But I hadn't talked to Coley about that, and I wouldn't tell you on this anyhow. But,
no, go ahead. Call it up, Coach. Well, we'll take a commercial break. You call and find out.
But I think you really make a good point there about the kids. First of all, who your boss is Kirby Smart. They're making that connection to here, and they know he's going to continue to develop pro players and all that. And it certainly hurts you, but I go back to when Jeremy Pruitt was coaching here, and he was recruiting Miko. That's true, and when he left here, he told Miko, hey, I'm going to Alabama, but you need to go to Georgia. And I've told that before, and I'm going to tell it again. I thought that was a classy move, because he was tight with that guy. He was over there at his church when it knocked down that Rick was leaving, and he kept recruiting him. And then one of his best friends, Kirby Smart, gets the job, and it didn't work out. But Mel Tucker will tell the guys the same thing. Hey, I recruited you in good faith. I know this is where you need to go. Go ahead and fulfill your dreams, and that's the kind of – but I think maybe they might be asking because they were looking – not that Tucker would try to take them to Colorado, but more like –
the kids will look around.
Unfamiliarity,
But what Tucker will be able to do is he'll be able to go on some of our seconds maybe and take them where they might not be on our first list, but guys that we might come back on that he'll go ahead and offer, but it'll be a good dialogue between he and Kirby. I tell you, the guy that's as happy for Tucker as anybody is Kirby, because hey, this is the first guy he's had that's got a head job and won't be the last. But he's this guy's been extremely loyal to Kirby. I mean, the guy's worked his butt off and been a great number 2 man, and Kirby's happy for him.
He's got 3 head coaches over there in waiting.
Absolutely.
James Coley's going to be a head coach somewhere. Del McGee's going to be a head coach somewhere. Tyson Summers is going to be a head coach again.
Sam and Chaney could be, but they
I don't think they want to be.
I'm just saying they just
they could.
They're in there. They're in the. I mean,
if I'm hiring a guy today,
I'd hire Sam Pittman.
That's my first call. Come on.
Has anybody ever just developed a situation in his own image, like, I mean, you talk about 3 years ago, and I remember the day that he got the job here, David Basil is the committee chairman for the Broyles Award, and he and I talked because myself and Coach Dooley vote for that. So I had known Sam a little bit through his affiliation with Oklahoma and Tennessee, working for Derek and all that. But he texted me that right away. He said, "This is going to be the worst thing that could happen to Arkansas and the best thing to happen to Georgia." Right there. And he nailed it because their line's gone down and ours has gone up. And
gone up is not even that's not even paying it due diligence.
He coaches the heck out of them and recruits them too. But I think that's a great example of
so that could be your fourth head coach possibly over there. Schumann, it'll be a while.
Right.
You got to think, and I was going to mention this earlier, he's now looking like the Kirby's
exactly.
Saban.
And that's my point. So that's why I said it'll be a while. Give him 7 years of working, We
got to keep Marshall Mouch out here too. I mean, that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Washington's roster and look at ours. I mean, this guy's been the personnel man at Washington. Now he's here. He knows how to pick out players. He's like a pro scout over there looking at guys. And, of course, Kirby's got to make the last decision on him. But they got all those people looking at tape and comparing them. I mean, he looks at the other teams, too, and tells you what he gives me a scouting report on the other teams when I ask him sometime. And I can't believe how vivid it is. I mean, he doesn't tell me what shirt size they wear or anything like that.
He probably knows it. I will say this: we never get to talk to Marshall, recruiting guy, so we're not allowed to talk to him. But I've seen him around and think that guy just. Ever seen anybody that just looks smart?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just looks like he's calculating. And he'll give you the head nod, and I think he's just.
Sly smile on that guy too,
and he just he's like gives you a head nod because he knows who we are because he knows that we don't know a tenth of what he does about recruiting.
To me,
so he's like, hey,
that's cute that you guys are guessing.
Exactly.
To me, he's like somebody up there in Washington, in the war room that nobody knows about, is trying to decide what we're going to do about this situation.
We're going to nuke Russia or not. We think about it over lunch.
He's got some good people working with him too. I mean, and those kids that come over and watch tape, got to be invaluable for him for the future. But let's get some more questions.
Yeah, so we were talking about Sam Pittman, obviously, talking a lot about recruiting. Another one from Alvin Todd here. He says, do we get Clay Webb next Monday? Offensive lineman out of Oxford, Alabama, 5-star, the best center in the nation.
Probably best guard, too.
I mean, he's I'll tell you what, if the kid were 6'7", he'd be the best offensive tackle in the class. But I mean, he's one of the best linemen I've ever had the pleasure of watching. So solid on his technique, wonderful kid, and a strange bird too, which I always dig on the recruiting trail. Alvin wants to know, does Georgia get him? I like Georgia's chances here, and I will tell you, I think that the big competition for him is not Alabama, who most people would assume since it's an in-state kid for them. I think it's Clemson, and just their staff has really impressed him. The family feel that he's gotten from them. Also, his family knows Jeff Scott from his time coaching at Oxford, so he and the mom are close. But if Georgia lands this kid, and I do think they have a very good chance, you've got to tip your hat once again, maybe give your hat to Sam Pittman, because that's what it's going to come down to.
That's the only reason he's coming.
If Georgia lands the kid, it's because of Sam Pittman. Point blank, period. He loves the guy. He loves his energy, loves his personality. So you can bet that we'll have it covered for you at UGASports.com. But as of today, I am going to say I do like Georgia's chances.
Switzer used to tell me about recruiting, when you got a guy that maybe – had some Texas ties, or whatever it might be. He said, look, you just got to get in there with that kid where he cannot tell you no.
Yeah.
It's just going to break his heart. And, in the end, that helps you a lot. I used to tell those kids when their mothers wanted them to go to Oklahoma, I'd tell them if they're going somewhere else, tell the mother start crying or something, You're not going to leave me, my baby. You're not going all the way to Florida.
Pull a Landon Collins mom on.
There you go.
Landon, boy, she was. Hey, I've been in a house one time, seriously, where the parents around there, and I really think that this mama did this on purpose to me. This was a Samoan kid over in Atlanta, and I was recruiting for Marshall, and it was this kitchen table there, and there's a ledge behind it, and I was here and everybody else out there, and I was giving my best shot, and a cat jumped right on top of my head. I went ballistic, man. I guarantee you she put that cat on my head to see what I was going to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How well does this man hold his composure? Let's find out.
I
Is he
panicked.
going to yell at my kid?
I didn't hit the cat, but I wasn't happy about it.
Oh, good Lord.
Speaking of places you need to hit, you need to swing by Academia Brewing Company. We're knocking down some of their beers right now. Like I said, last time I went out there, which I do go out there way too often. And no, they don't give me free food, which I wish they would did. But I go out there because it's fantastic. And they have specials each. They have music on Thursdays. They have, the big prime rib night. You need to check out half-price wings on Monday, in the afternoon. But the one thing I want you to understand when you go out there, they do have a chef. So it's not just a brewing company. A lot of people think, I don't want to go out to the beer place. If you want to go to a great restaurant, go out there. But when you get there, they're going to hand you that beer list, and it has all these different beers on it. It is not – if you've been out there 2 weeks ago, and this is why I bring up when the last time I was there, if I'd gone out 4 days ago, there's a new beer list.
Oh, absolutely.
If I'd been out there a month ago, it's almost it's like 90% new list. They print it out just about every day because they're constantly changing things up. So it is never the same experience twice if you want to go out there for beer. And they also do all sorts of different specials on food. I saw a picture they had the other day. They had a Scotch egg on there.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm like,
I love a good
how
Scotch egg.
How do you get a Scotch egg out in Athens, Georgia? Who's doing this? I mean, that's an Irish pub staple. You have to fly to Ireland to get one of those, or down to Culhane's in Jacksonville. But no. Scotch egg on the – I'm like, who does this? So, anyway, if you get a chance, swing out to Academia Brewing Company. Again, it's run by Georgia grads, brewed by Georgia grads.
Drank by Georgia grads.
Drunken by a lot of Georgia grads. Maybe a couple at this table, maybe.
Britt Smith says, what's the opinion on the quarterback from Hawaii that's visiting this weekend? If you didn't see that note, Dylan Gabriel, guy to watch out of Honolulu, picked up an offer from Georgia a couple weeks back. Will be taking an official visit to Athens this weekend. I'm going to tell you.
Didn't you report that Georgia went out there to see him?
They did, yes.
Who went out there?
Yeah, James Coley flew all the way out there, and it was a quick there and back. He flew out, watched the kid. No, he flew out, watched the kid practice.
The week of practice.
A week of
Right
so,
before and he might be going again. But people would ask, why would Georgia take another quarterback? They got the kid from Mississippi, but I just think it's prudent to have a mid-year guy in here where you have 3 scholarship guys
Absolutely.
To practice, because you got to train your team out there. You don't want Fromm and Fields out there running every snap against your first-team defense and all that. I mean, you got to get some other guys in and train some. All this kid that walked on did a good job for us, but I think it's always good to have at least 3 or 4 scholarship quarterbacks. And this guy, I mean, his dad was a great quarterback at Hawaii, and he's got good.
I think he set the state of Hawaii record for passing.
He's a very.
There've been some good quarterbacks out of there.
He's another lefty that I think. I watched the tape on him. I'd take him.
I'll tell you this: I don't feel great about Georgia's chances,
really?
The reason I say that is because he's seen his stock fly through the roof in the last probably 3 weeks.
Probably looking at some other schools that he can play quicker.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got some situations that may be a quicker path to playing time. I know Southern Cal is interested now too, so that's probably compelling for a West Coast guy.
He wants to go play for Urban Meyer.
I will say too. I think
Urban there in 2020, right? That's a new. I had to say that once today.
I will say though, another name to keep your eye on, because this one just came open today. We haven't gotten any new intel on it, but a name to keep in the back of your mind is Jaden Johnson, and that's a kid out of Memphis, Tennessee, former Louisville commit. Who expressed he grew up in the Warner Robins area, is familiar with Jake Fromm, knows him well, grew up a Georgia fan.
What? Is he a quarterback?
He is, and maintained he was solid to Louisville through and through and through up until today, this morning. Decommitted this morning. So Watch the name Jaden Johnson. I'm not saying anything will happen necessarily. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't hurt to get him in on an official visit. You got, 2 weekends left before?
Yeah, yep.
That's a good lick for Louisville, I think, to get Scott Satterfield. I mean, I think he's going to do a good job up there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think so as well. But we're talking about that guy. Definitely go check that out. And like I said, go check out that defensive players to watch piece over at UGAsports.com.
Explain that, because
so basically we just made you a little cheat sheet. You're trying to sort through all the names. You're getting 1,000 names thrown at you. We basically went through offense and defense. These are the guys you need to be focused on. Keep these guys at the forefront of your mind. Look, the reality is Georgia doesn't have a ton of spots left, so you've got kind of a limited number of guys to work with. You don't need to be keeping track of everybody in the world. So we made it easy for you. I think we put about 7 guys on the list today.
Well, hey, can you just give me a little bit? How about Jaden Hazelwood?
I'll give you one that's on the list because we did the defense today. Nakobe Dean recently, as in about 52 minutes ago, bumped up to a 5-star in the Rivals.com rankings.
Now Georgia can take him.
Yeah.
They could take him before, but now it's okay.
He's definitely a main target of theirs, a huge focus for them in this class, a kid who is drawing rave reviews for his senior season, the way he's played.
State champ.
I've talked to people that said if this kid was 2 inches taller, he'd probably be the number 1 player in America.
Who's it between?
It's going to be between... Realistically, I think the decision comes down between Alabama and Georgia. Now, Texas A&M, LSU, they're still involved. Ole Miss is looking like a factor possibly for home state purposes, but it really comes down, I think, to Georgia and Alabama.
It's the number 1 inside linebacker in the nation. And that's I'm not taking a shot at Georgia's inside linebackers, but who do you need to work on? Who do you need to replace? I mean, you got Tyndall coming, you got Quay Walker coming, but who's behind them? I think we're not seeing a whole lot of Nate McBride in there. Now we're not seeing a lot of Jaden Hunter. I think they're going to go from this current crop of guys to those younger guys. So if he's looking at the depth chart, he's like, yeah.
And he reminds me, he's a guy who's in the similar vein to Roquan Smith and Monty Rice. He's a kind of a smaller, compact guy, but he's a sideline-to-sideline guy, great striker, incredible athlete, so a real good heir to the throne, if you will. Monty was that for Roquan. I think Nakobe could be the next one. I like Georgia's chances there as well.
Monty didn't even play the other night. We could have used him, but, hey, how about the pressure we put on Tua and those guys? I thought that was
absolutely
great.
Tua was confused. And earlier I want to mention one thing real quick, but after that, I do want you to explain when you say rotating the safeties, because I didn't get it. I don't understand what you meant there. But spinning them, okay.
Okay, we've talked about 2 deep coverage, 2 deep man under, 3 deep coverage, but you don't want to just line up in the middle of the field every time you're going to play 3 deep. You want to line up on the hash and look like you're playing 2 deep. And then go to it, or you want to line up in 3 deep and spin to 2. Well, usually for us, we spin our safeties a lot to the field and let the other one come down and protect the run. But we gave some different spins to them. Instead of our safety, instead of necessarily JR going this way and number 2 coming Richard LeCount coming this way, they did opposite read for him, and that's where you saw, if you watched a little bit closer, when LeCount intercepted the pass, he started a couple steps to the boundary and then went back to the middle, and that was a misread because Tua thought he had the middle of the field there, and he got that intercepted. Okay. And the same thing with Scott, who usually on the boundary goes to the field, and he went back to the weak side, which he normally doesn't do as a strong safety, and he got that pick on the goal line. So just little subtle things.
I tell you, Mel Tucker and Kirby Smart together, pretty good combination.
That's because, hey, they practice against these guys. They know their reads, and, you show them a different look. And the other thing was we talked about it on.
No one would. I wouldn't have noticed that. Very few people would have. And so
Gary Danielson didn't see it either.
No surprise
he could have, but I don't know. I didn't hear it. But the one thing I thought that was really good, I liked that he stood up for us, and Herb Street did, that we were the best team, though, in a lot of ways being picked. But the other thing we did really good, I thought, was when they did run some play action, we, instead of just trying to drop back and play the underneath coverage because they like to throw deep, we brought some heat. And we were in his face a lot. We didn't necessarily sack him, but
he did not have a good game.
It was a predetermined. He was confused.
Yeah.
And, they thought they were going to run a little necky bootleg on first down on the goal line. We came with the heat, and he took a big loss.
That's right.
And that was coaching, because that's playing the tendencies. And, I normally don't say a whole lot on this show because I don't want – but I felt like that last week. I tried to go over there a little bit more just to watch them because I was nervous as a prostitute in church about the game, and I wanted to see what they were doing. So I watched a little bit more than I normally do, you know.
Well, but it helps because I didn't notice that they moved the safeties like that.
I thought that our preparation was so solid. You just look at a team. It's like I used to say to everybody on here, when we got these guys over here getting ready to take exams, when you're prepared for exam and you know what to do, you're not too nervous about it, are you? You can go in there, but when you've been out the night before and you hadn't been studying and you go in there, you're a little nervous. Our team was prepped, man. We were ready to rock and roll. It was pretty obvious, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was.
I think so.
And, again, that goes back to the point I was trying to make earlier. I thought that schematically you had them. And I don't think that they did anything in the second half to change it. But you can call the right scheme, you can call the right play, but if your guy doesn't do the right thing, you don't execute it. And, again, I know everyone wants to blame a coach. Fired Coley, fired Chaney, fire Bobo, fire Rick, fire everybody. Sometimes –
Fire Jake, fire Roddy.
Yeah, sometimes it's the writer, sometimes it's the player, sometimes you don't beat your man, or the guy on the other side makes a better play.
Well, let's go back to one thing we said, too, last week. We talked about the quality of athletes on the field, pregame warm-up. You could take our jerseys off and put on them and their jerseys and put on us, and it's pretty obvious what both teams look like, wasn't it? Didn't we say this on the show? And the thing about it is then it gets down to proper technique and knowledge of assignment, and we did really good. We didn't have a lot of busted plays. We didn't have a lot of penalties. The only thing that just really galls me is our special teams. When we really needed them, when it was a big advantage, we didn't get it.
There was, I do think, and everyone thinks that Alabama's this juggernaut. I think they were a little nervous.
I think you
had
them off their game
more
so than anybody else.
And they had a wide open pass.
They dropped. Well, that was something you said. I think, hey, we're going to need some help from them. And another thing you said that I read that was good was that you talked about, hey, we got an edge in special teams, but they can return kicks too. And first thing they do is return the kick.
That's son of a bitch.
Did you just dream that or something?
No. Well,
or did you look up the stats?
No, I stole what Kirby Smart said because he actually mentioned it in the press conference, and I did look at it. After that, I'm like, what do you? Because I hadn't really thought of them as being – because you've known there have been times when you're facing a team with a great returner, and like with going against UMass, they had that one wide receiver nobody could stop. And so, like, okay, let me see what Kirby's talking about here. Is he just giving us they got a great long snapper speech, But he said they had great return guys. Looked it up, and sure enough, he had it prepared. And again, you've been inconsistent, and somebody missed him.
You know something I've always wanted to do on this show because so many people watch the show around the state. I want these four people right here, great Georgia fans, great students. I want them to just come stand behind here, let them see what great
come on in.
What great reps we got. Getting ready to graduate from Georgia. He's majoring in biology. He's gonna be a doctor. He's gonna be an optometrist. Hey, come on in here, honey. Come on in. She's his date today. Did he pay for it? All right, come on in here. These are two business school guys. Look at this. Look what we got here, champ. These kids, do you know where to eat, don't you? It's the right place. Hey, you're going all across the country here.
You got to lean down just a little bit to get in the camera.
Hey, pull that camera back just a little bit.
Now, Roddy's going to fire me for doing this, but I think it's pretty good PR.
There you go.
Hey, tell them, are y'all members of the rival site?
I am.
Hey, yes!
All right. And he just shares the password with the rest of them. So
just go ahead and share with the rest of them.
That's how it always works.
That's awesome.
All right. Thank you guys for coming in. Appreciate it.
Good luck on your exams. And for the doctor there and for the economist there, help me with my portfolio, all $47 of it.
Hey, great
I'll
job.
see you when I need.
Good luck to you. Good luck. Good to see you.
Jake will see you to get that rash cleared up.
There you go.
So, hey, that was fun, though.
Last thing you were
would have
talking
been in bad shape if he said we didn't have any rivals members.
Yeah. So we do have – there is a point. We always have a lot of folks that come out and watch the show, and we appreciate it. One last thing before we have to wrap it up. I do want to give
Thanks, ladies.
a big shout-out to Aaron Overhead Doors. Talk about a good team. Just if you go to their page, AaronOverheadDoors.com, and you see all the 5-star reviews – they fix garage doors at the level that Kirby Smart recruits. All 5 stars. Man, it's just it's unreal. They, again, I'm looking at Yelp, Google, Better Business Bureau, 5-star, 5. I mean, it's thousands of 5-star reviews. And one person says here, 5 stars is not enough. What a great experience. Excellence of service before and after. Best service from start to finish. The confirmation service calls, the text messages about my technician on his way to a various courteous professional and fact technician. In other words, these people, I guess I would compare them to like the service you get at Champions when you come in. They greet you at the door. They take you to your seat. They make sure you have everything you want. It's just a service experience. And you don't think that when you get in a garage door. You're thinking, I need somebody to come out. This guy's going to be a pain. He's not going to understand what I want. No, this is a first-class organization. The guy that runs it, I mean, he didn't start out, hey, I want to be a garage door guy. This is a guy who understands customer service, and he thought, where is customer service lacking? Got on with the garage door company, and so his approach, he's a customer service company that specializes in garage doors, not a garage door company that specializes in customer service. So
I like it.
It's we'll give it a quick
all
shout
of our
out.
sponsors are like that.
Well,
every time
we
I go
turned down a few of them that worked.
I go out to the Athens Ford or Academia or
swing by your pie, maybe.
They don't know me from a jar of Vicks Vapor Rub. Now they do because I'm on this show, and they're really nice.
We finally
to me.
made you famous, Coach.
They're good though. I mean,
we finally made your household name.
I like to be incognito.
I'll tell you, I did take advantage. Full disclosure, last week, pretty sure it was Thursday. Wife had to go back to Georgia Gwinnett College to teach, and so normally we have lunch on Thursdays, and I'm like, I'm by myself on Thursday. I hit that Your Pie, ordered my thing, and I'm like, that was really easy, and it gives you an option. Do you want to do another one? I'm like, well, of course I want to make another one.
Well, why not, I guess. I mean,
well, you got two of them.
So I got 2 of them. The idea being that when I go pick up my son from school, I'll have a pizza for him at home. He came home to half a pizza. He's like, where's the other half? I'm like,
we'll go get you another one, boy.
Son, let's make a sandwich.
We had this coach at Oklahoma one time and got locked out of his house, and they were having a birthday party that night for his daughter, and there were 2 pies out there in the screened-in porch. They had to get some more later. Charlie North.
Dorothy got thrown under the bus on that one.
All right, we got a few quick hitters that I'm gonna go through. Dylan Brooks says, after watching the tape, I'm not impressed with Noah Kane. Is he elite, or can we do better with Trey Sanders? I will tell you, I think Trey Sanders is the better of the 2 backs, certainly, but you're not getting anything bad if Noah Kane ends up on your roster. That's a top 100 kid, a guy who's proven it on the big stage. He played right with Trey Sanders down there at IMG Academy, was an early adopter of IMG, one of those guys that came in and got early. I think that you should be happy either way.
We're a little bit spoiled on that because – you got to remember, as a running back, everybody's not going to be all these different things. So you got to get guys. We got that one big kid coming in.
Yeah, Kenny McIntosh.
Hammer and tong, and so hey, you can't. Every kid can't have every quality. So
you can't get threes and mere whites.
Here we go.
Mike Getchell says, any Nolan Smith or Jaden Hazelwood updates? I heard Hazelwood's dad is in Oklahoma talking to them. I've not heard that necessarily, but I'll tell you this. If there's one option out of all the ones that Jaden's considering that makes sense to me, it is Oklahoma. Oklahoma is the one that if he went there, that's the least surprising. Now, if he were to go to Auburn or FSU or Miami, those would be still head scratchers in my opinion. But Oklahoma, you're going to get a large passing offense. You're going to focus on keeping the ball in the air. The Big 12, obviously.
Who is that receiver whatever they got committed? Don't they have a guy number one?
They do. Theo Weiss. Theo Weiss.
That'd be somebody. Both went there.
Absolutely.
Number 1 and number 2.
But how's their quarterback? They got that Rattler kid coming in too.
Yeah, Rattler's a real good one for sure. Let's see here. So, like I said, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Hazelwood. I've heard Georgia feels better about their chances after visiting with him last week, but
still got a home visit, right?
Yeah,
an official visit.
Yeah,
here.
Still got the OV, so that'll be huge. And I look for them to capitalize pretty big on that one.
I'm not counting on him.
Nolan Smith is the other guy that he asked about. I would be shocked if Nolan Smith went anywhere other than Georgia. Now, he's playing the game. He's out there. He's enjoying his visits for sure. But
yeah,
he did and said he had the best weekend of his life. But
where was that?
At Penn State.
Are you kidding me?
But I think that he's probably
snowed there. Never seen snow before.
All right, let's see. A couple of people asking about the refs and the officiating in the game. Coach, your quick take on the
There were some calls missed. There's no question about it. But I think for the most part, the thing I liked about it, most of the time they were pretty decisive with the calls they made. They were in position, and you're not going to get a game where you get 100%, or you're going to
have settle for 50%.
You really think we were 50% in that game? I know that you talk about holding and all, but hey,
actually the holding calls were bad enough. My biggest holding issue was Hurts' touchdown. When Britton Cox came off the line, he was grabbed by two different men. Now they ran a twist, so he's got that outside. His job, if Jalen rolls out to his right, he's the outside contained guy. He gets in his face. He was yanked down, and Hurts had this free shot to the outside to find Jerry Jeudy in the back of the end zone. And I'm thinking, if you didn't yank him down there, it's fine. But even again, hey, you shouldn't have been in that position. You shouldn't have gone 21 point or 0-21.
Nothing you can do about it.
But I still do not. I dislike two other calls. Got my goat, if you will. They got me all worked up. Not calling Jason Stanley being nailed out of bounds. That was ridiculous. And then the phantom pass interference call on Eric Stokes.
Yeah, considering as much as but it's a give and take. We talked about it before the game. How much they going to call PI because both teams.
But then they didn't call. Yeah, they didn't call the one on Riley Ridley in the end zone. He's trying to go up for a pass, and he's getting bear hogged.
Yeah,
that's not interference. But running step for step,
they were consistent in that. They didn't call it much.
Yeah. But I'm like, where did it happen on Eric Stokes on that drive? I just didn't get. So those, if you're gonna nail a guy out of bounds, you gotta call that. That's just garbage.
All right. I think that we should probably wrap things up for this week.
Yeah, 'cause there's some pie over here that needs my attention.
There's some pie. We got some tenders that we're going to dive into here.
Key lime pie?
It is key lime pie. Absolutely.
Sorry, Roddy.
No, that's okay. We're going to take care of that.
No, I'm just saying sorry. You don't get it.
What? Well, hey, I'll take those green beans over there. They're phenomenal.
You got the Masters on today over there. What time are you playing today?
It takes me about 2 hours to get down there, so 2:30.
You and Billy Payne got a tea time.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Make sure, like we said, get over to UGAsports.com. We do have our Cyber Monday deal extended. It went very well, so we picked up a ton of new subscribers.
More than anybody else in the entire
whole
company.
Rivals Network. So come check us out. Give us a shot. Get that Sugar Bowl gear. And like we said, if you don't want the Sugar Bowl gear, get some Brave stuff. Get some Falcons gear. I don't know why you'd want that either, but
a Cleveland jersey would be a good idea.
There you go.
Get you a Nick Chubb jersey.
There you go. Get you a Nick Chubb jersey. Shout out to all the sponsors:
Athens Ford, Air and Overhead Doors, Europe High, Academia Brewing Company, Cable Leafs, 365 Game Day, Champions on Baxter, and 11 Live.
And for Jim Donnan, Roddy Nabulsi, I'm Jake Roos. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you next Tuesday.
That's it for this episode of the UGA Sports Live Podcast. Tune in next week for more Georgia Bulldogs news and notes from Athens.